this is Ben with the Taylor Fit Homes Group. I'm a real estate agent here in Austin, Texas, and just got finished working with some wonderful clients over on a home over in South Austin. And I was just curious, Dan, the experience working with my team and I, including Chris, the wonderful lender over there. What was the experience? What was the experience like for you and Sarah?
Yeah, it was a really great experience. This was our first home purchase. So doing that in Austin was nerve-wracking at times. The market here is kind of crazy, so having a team like Ben and Chris sort of on our side was super helpful.
If you don't mind touching on that real quick, how you guys came across that whole experience? Mind digging into that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, we met Ben probably back in November. It's February now.
2020.
2020. We met Ben back in November at an open house where my wife Sarah and I were just starting to look at homes. We really liked sort of like the vibe that sort of Ben gave off. He seemed very knowledgeable about South Austin in general. Obviously the type of house that we were looking at then was similar to sort of what we've actually ended up with. We sort of had a good idea of what we wanted. We then met with Ben and his wife a few weeks later to grab coffee with our dog, to introduce them to our dog. And
awesome dog.
Yeah, well, great dog. To sort of talk about where we were, sort of what we wanted, some sort of fears that we had maybe, and also some things that we were sort of like not knowledgeable about yet. You helped sort of explain all of that for us very clearly, and sort of worked with us and let us kind of lead the way with how much time and effort we wanted to sort of put in it, put into this home search sort of then, and sort of as we got more comfortable, got our funding in place and all that kind of stuff, like how we wanted to sort of like ramp up in the new year. It all worked really, really well and was in some ways kind of effortless. It kind of still surprises me actually how easy it ended up being.
Right.
I think early on it seems like this big, impossible sort of task. Like I said, especially in a market like this. But once things got rolling and once we were sort of really putting in some time and kind of knew where all the pieces sort of fit, it became a very easy thing to end up doing.
Yeah, so also, when we went through this process together, we had found what ended up being the home they purchased, and we were in a multiple offer situation. For whatever reason, the seller decided to go with another offer, very common experience, I'm sure, for many buyers out there. And what happened was the property went temporarily off the market. When the property went temporarily off the market, I decided to do a kind of a reconnaissance mission to figure out if we could make it work, because I could tell everything else I was showing them wasn't cutting it. So I was like, all right, how do I make this kind of thing happen? And because otherwise I'm not sure what we're going to find. And so what happened was I was able to, I knew the seller directly, reached out to him, and we're able to kind of get the property back, and this time under contract. And do you mind talking a little bit about that from your vantage point?
Yeah, for sure. So like Ben said, the house that we ended up with is actually the house that we first made an offer on. So I think that was in like mid-January. Like Ben said, when we first saw it, I mean, we really fell in love with it. We knew how much attention it would get. I think even prior to sort of putting in our offer, we sort of knew that it would be competitive. I think the difficulty for us at the time was because it was the first house we were making an offer on, we didn't really have sort of any way of calibrating at that point. We knew we loved it, but we didn't know sort of like how much we loved it, I suppose.
Right.
Like Ben said, ultimately we ended up losing out on that opportunity. We started looking at more houses every week. We saw some great houses still, but none of them sort of like ended up ranking up to what
we never hit that emotional.
Never hit that emotional, that sort of like emotional sort of feeling that we had about the first house. Which was painful, but I think, ultimately we were sort of like getting used to the fact that maybe that was just something that we would miss out on, and we needed to sort of like readjust and try and forget about it. We then went through sort of a few other houses that we were very interested in, that for whatever reason, ended up not working out for various reasons. And then, one day, I don't even remember what day it was, like Ben called to sort of let us know about this news that the initial house sort of had come back on the market in this way. And I mean, we moved so quickly. I think we were under contract within a couple of hours after that phone call. We just knew that, I mean, we'd lucked out in a lot of ways, but also we're really thankful for the amount of work that Ben managed to do to just kind of like be the first people in the door when that happened. And then we just never looked back. I think we were more than happy to sort of throw everything in. once that happened again, because we'd sort of, at that time, it had been maybe 3 weeks after the fact, so we sort of had, like I said, calibrated. We knew exactly how much that house meant to us and how badly we wanted it. And yeah, I mean, we're just ecstatic that we ended up getting it.
Yeah. I mean, I could just tell, when you've been in this business long enough, you kind of can tell when someone feels like they missed out on something, and then they're comparing that home to everything else, especially since that, a rancher style home was something that I knew was like near and dear to their heart, and we just weren't finding those kinds of things readily available in the market. One thing I also want to do a quick shout out to Chris Peter, the lender with Barton Creek Lending. He's over there. He was able to get the appraisal done and we had a very small option period. And he was able to make sure that the appraisal would get done prior, which saved them about $5,000, I believe, on the purchase price. So I don't know if you want to say something quick about Chris.
Yeah.
But
I'd love to
he
say
was
something.
he was an integral part of the process.
So obviously, like, getting lending in place is a whole other sort of beast of work and sort of jargon, and just something that you need to kind of wrap your head around as a first-time home buyer. Chris was always available. We had a lot of questions for him. He never made us feel like we were asking silly questions. He always responded like immediately to any emails. We knew we could call and text him sort of any time, even if it was in the middle of the night, which never happened, but I knew I could have. So I mean, that was a fantastic experience. I think also, like Ben said, the turnaround time that his office was able to do was incredible. I mean, we were able to close in, I think, like, what has it been, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. So that's just been an incredible thing to be a part of as well. I feel like we kind of lucked out with managing to find this team as a whole. So yeah, I mean, it's just been an awesome experience.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome, man.
So if anyone ever has any real estate needs, let me know. Be happy to connect you with the right resources to make sure the process goes as smoothly as it did for Dan and Sarah. There were some bumps along the way, but everything was navigated. We were able to close in less than 3 weeks. And thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.